I'm here today at the first day of the Agbiz Congress, and I was joined by 4 panelists in an interesting session on emerging trends and opportunities in trade. Today I was joined by panelists from the DTIC, Elizabeth van Rienen, the CEO from Tralec, Trudy Hutzenberg, MD Tiger Brands International, that's Polycarp Igate, and Werner van Rooyen from the Fresh Produce Export Forum. We had a very good discussions around emerging trends. I presented a few statistics from the Bureau for Food and Agriculture Policy, illustrating where the fastest trends are in terms of commodities that are growing fast. And there we can clearly see citrus, for example, our biggest exporting agriculture commodity, almost making up 15% of the total exported value of South African products. But then we also have fast-growing commodities, smaller industries like small berries and fruits that are also performing fast. One of the interesting points that we talked about was which regions are growing the fastest in terms of growth. Africa is still our biggest, main or most important partner in terms of growth, or at least in terms of the sheer size of the market. So we have about 35% of exports going into Africa, and very interesting discussions where we, for example, had a discussion, is Africa still a market into the future, and what would this Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement entail? So very complex agreement with many non-tariff issues that we have to debate and clarify. There needs a lot more transparency, harmonization around product standards. We had, for example, our colleague from Tiger Brand explaining how important and how valuable the quality of product of South Africa is into those value chains, the quality of our infrastructure and our supply chains. Then we had a very good discussion. We had colleagues from the Fresh Produce Export Forum on the panel mentioning the growth and the opportunity in Asian markets and how tricky it is to open up those markets in terms of free trade agreements. We are facing major import duties in those markets, much bigger than some of our main competitors into those markets. And at the end of the day, it really comes down to capacity in working in these free trade agreements in these markets, opening up markets where private sector and public sector can participate and can build capacity, understanding what the opportunities are, and then also dealing with complexities. We had very interesting discussions around sugar, for example, and the SACU, the South African Customs Union, where we have sensitive products like sugar, where we, for example, have very high protection, and we have high import duties, and those duties are then paid by our neighbors. So in other words, it's benefiting South African farmers and producers, but it's actually to the detriment of some of our neighboring countries. These are complex issues that need to be carefully unpacked, and that we need to work together and actually sit around a table, look at the analytics, look at the reality, and then come to a decision. Bottom line is it takes time. It will become much more complex. We talked about those complexities. We have traditional markets like the EU potentially becoming more inward-looking, becoming more strict, and the same, for example, in some of the Chinese markets, the Asian markets, also becoming more strict in terms of allowing South African products into those markets.